Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. Oh, I know. CNN makes a... I know
that's supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
All right, guys, so it's another day, which means there's another video about Kamala Harris or somebody associated with her campaign, the Democrat Party, getting caught being fake, okay? Because the Kamala campaign, the Democrat Party, is built off of fakeness, okay? And Kamala Harris is probably the fakest of the fake Democratic Party because they actually don't believe in democracy. This is why Kamala Harris was installed as the nominee. And the only reason they're able to get away with this is because of the fake liberal media that tries to claim that they are news, okay, and that they are journalists. However, it is not news. It is propaganda that is being run by Democrat Party propagandists, okay, because even a liberal audience at Stephen Colbert's show could recognize that it is a joke to say that CNN is straight news and it is objective, right? That it is journalism, okay? As you guys heard at the beginning of this video, Stephen Colbert did not mean to make that a laugh line, right? But again, because everybody knows, including liberals, that CNN is biased, people just laugh when you try to claim that CNN is some type of objective news source. I mean, the thought of CNN or MSNBC or any of these liberal media outlets being objective is laughable, right? Instantly laughable, right? We've seen it, okay? We have evidence of it. People know that the media is fake. What you read and what you see is fake, and it is largely Democrat Party propaganda. More evidence of that is that Kamala Harris is now coming under fire for her campaign getting caught manipulating headlines from major media organizations through Google Ads in order to make it look like that the news coverage that she is getting is more favorable than it actually is, right? So she's taken a story that's already written by CNN, for example. She's changing the headline, and then she's running ads to try to make it seem like that the CNN headline is positive, even though most of the time it is positive and is already skewed in a way that is favorable towards her. But apparently that's not enough, right? You have to just run straight propaganda, right? It has to be obvious propaganda, or else that's not good enough for her. So without further ado, let's get into it.
A brand new Axios report revealing that the Harris campaign has been editing news headlines to make her look good. Now, we're told that the media outlets whose headlines have been butchered, basically changed, had no knowledge that this was going to happen or that it's been happening. This graphic from Axios shows great headlines for Harris within Google search ads. So when you Google, the fake stuff comes up instead of the actual headlines from outlets like the Associated Press, Reuters, and CBS News. However, these search results were purchased by the Harris campaign. So you got to look for the little sticker that says sponsored. They link to real articles, but the campaign manipulated the headlines and descriptions to glow up Kamala. A source familiar with the Harris team is telling Axios that the campaign buys search ads with news links to give voters, quote, more context. The report also points out the Trump campaign is not running these types of ads. Kellyanne, we call it glow up, embellishment, whatever you want to call it. The media outlets say they didn't know.
Maybe, but either way, it's deceptive and gaslighting. The real point here for the viewers to appreciate is that the Harris campaign thinks they can get away with redoing media headlines and that the media won't mind. They treat the mainstream media, Harris, like a wholly owned subsidiary of the Harris Walz campaign. They don't pursue them any more than they pursue loyal Democratic liberal voters. Why would you spend a dime chasing them? You've already got them. And that's the way they're treating the media, whether it's refusing to sit down for any kind of interviews, taking any kind of easy or hard question while she's under wing on the plane, or just taking to the podium. But this is manipulation of the American mind. Most of the headlines already favor her.
Yeah. So this is the core point that Kellyanne Conway is getting at, right? Which is that the mainstream liberal media and Kamala Harris are colluding. They're colluding to manipulate the American mind. Now, we can complain about this, which I think that it does make sense to call out Kamala Harris for doing something that is extremely deceptive. I can be mad about what Kamala Harris is doing, but what she's doing is not illegal. And apparently it's not against the terms of service. So if it's not illegal and it's not against the terms of service, then hey, I guess it's fair game, right? I mean, that's kind of the way it seems like right now. But again, if it is against the terms of service, then no, Trump should not do this, right? But, you know, hey, if it's allowed, if this is what they allow, at some point, you got to say, listen, if she's going to copy Trump's policy on not taxing tips, why don't we copy something that she's doing? Democrats don't seem to ever take any real damage for doing stuff like this. So why shouldn't Republicans do it? It's not like the media is going to care. Now, again, Google will eventually ban it, right? They'll eventually say, no, you can't do this, right? You can't do this. That's what they'll do if Trump started to do it. And then you also have the people that'll come out and say, no, Trump shouldn't do it because we should take the high road. We should not engage in perfectly legal but deceptive practices to manipulate the mind like they're doing, okay? And then we will complain when we lose, right? We're going to complain, okay? And when we lose, although we did not do the same things that the other team did in order to manipulate people into voting for our candidate, right? Again, whether you like it or not, okay? Hey, Kamala Harris is paying for fake support. What is that? Manipulating the mind. The media is basically carrying her water, manipulating the mind. She's now paying for these fake headlines, manipulating the mind. It's powerful stuff. And it works. And at some point, you got to say, okay, well, we got to fight fire with fire. Because if this is what they're doing, then you got to level the playing field or you're going to lose, right? And it's not like Democrats get punished for doing these things. I wish they did, right? In the ideal world, nobody would do this, right? You wouldn't do something like this, okay? You would not be manipulating these headlines. This is not something that I support. I'm just saying, in this type of circumstance, the Trump campaign, if this is what Harris is going to do and nobody cares, right? If she's not going to lose points, if she's not going to lose support over it, then clearly they're saying that, hey, this is something that you're allowed to do. So as long as she's doing it, then why don't you do it back? Because otherwise, if she's not losing any points over it and it's working, okay, if she's actually really manipulating people this way and getting votes, then you're just losing if you decide not to participate. Now, again, it's one thing if she actually loses support, but I doubt that she will. She's going to pass on this because, honestly, these are the headlines that the media wants to write, but they try to maintain the veneer of journalism, right? They don't want to be just overt propaganda, okay? Not like MSNBC. MSNBC is overt propaganda. They will definitely write headlines like these and pass it off as journalism, right? So Kamala Harris probably didn't edit any MSNBC headlines, right? They was already good, okay? That's already the in-kind contribution to her campaign.
Time magazine just put her on the cover, and the most important piece of the entire cover story about Kamala Harris, quote, her movement, the redefining Kamala Harris is, quote, the Kamala Harris campaign refused to make her available for an interview. She's not participating in glowing profiles about her. So this was the next stage in that repertoire, which is take a headline, manipulate it, and make it look like it's news, not opinion. Make it look like it's facts and figures, not a run-of-the-mill paid political ad. If I were those outlets, I would do one thing. We are no longer going to cover your rallies, your speeches, nothing, your schedule, until you sit down for an interview.
There you go.
You apologize for this, you take them down, and you put out a public statement. Her first interview should just be a public statement straight to camera. We screwed up. This is, I don't know if it's illegal, but it certainly is unethical. Yeah,
so it doesn't break with Google's search engine platform, just so you know, because it says that you can clearly see the sponsored ad, marking on the page that they've messed with. So that's supposed to do it. But we know how quickly people are scrolling and clicking, Emily. I said on The Focus, I don't know if that's enough to get people's attention. I mean, if it's fake, you ought to mark it fake or misinformation. Remember how they went after people who had simple questions about COVID? And I was one of them. You get marked, you get stickered. you got to make it bold.
Yes, you must be reading my mind, because that's exactly what I was thinking. How the delicacy, the subtlety of the sponsored tag here is in such stark contrast to the blatant removals of posts where people dare to ask questions. In fact, it's still going on with people who aren't even asking questions. They're saying something unrelated. They've mentioned something that in the big constellation could be tied back to a topic or a point that the humans behind the algorithms deemed unacceptable to them. That's why it's removed. So everyday average Americans, veterans, active duty military, people in law enforcement, people who dare to vote for Trump, everyone who is just trying to get along here, they're the ones that are being suppressed and wiped away. And yet here, blatant manipulation. Could you imagine if Donald Trump had done this with his campaign? Could you imagine if there was even one slight purchase of an ad with the then rewriting of the headline, the uproar that we would be subjected to? And here, you're right. Not only do they know they can get away with it with the media, but they know that they can get away with it with the liberal voters. And that is the saddest part.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have made the point better myself, right? That was going to be the ending point of this video, which is that, do people actually care? Right? That's what matters, okay? Because if it's within Google's terms of service, right, if this is what they allow, which, I mean, they probably will fix it, okay? Because the reason why it's designed the way that it is, okay, is because when you have people typically purchasing these ads, they're not purchasing them to try to manipulate people's minds in regards to political opinion. They're trying to manipulate people to buy something, okay? So you don't want the ads to look like ads, right? You want them to look like organic links, even though you're paying for it to be an ad, but you want it to be organic or to look organic so that people are more likely to click on it, okay? Because people have trust in the search engine to bring up the most relevant points or the relevant things that they are searching for. Okay. So when you pay to have an ad at the top of the search engine, it is incumbent upon Google to increase the likelihood of people clicking on the ad by making it appear as if it is organic, even though it is not. Now, they are also trying to cover themselves in regards to ethics by saying, well, it's sponsored, right? Like, this is paid for. It's not really organic. But they know that people, a lot of people do not have that attention to detail that is needed all the time, especially when you're just randomly scrolling through things, randomly reading things, to see that, oh, okay, this is sponsored, right? A lot of people just click on it real quick. They don't see the sponsored link. And that's how you get people to click on these things, right? I mean, this is built for e-commerce, right? It wasn't necessarily built to do stuff like this. So essentially you have the Kamala campaign exploiting a loophole in a system that was created for another reason. Okay. Yes. If the Trump campaign had done this, then yeah, the media would be boohoo whining and crying. But the problem is that the media is not going to care, because this tells you everything you need to know about how the media and Kamala Harris are in fact colluding, because if they weren't colluding, Kamala would not have pulled this stunt in the first place. The reason why she pulled this stunt is the same reason why she feels comfortable not giving interviews, because she knows that the mainstream liberal media is not going to hold her accountable. In the ideal world, what would happen is what Kellyanne Conway was saying, which is that the press would say, look, we're no longer going to give you constant positive press coverage. We're also no longer going to cover your rallies. Okay, and we're going to demand an interview with you and openly criticize you for not doing the interview until you sit down and do the interview. But they're not going to do that. Why they're not going to do that? Because if they do that, if they actually do their jobs, then Kamala's poll numbers will tank. Okay, they know that that will increase the likelihood of Trump winning, and at least not for capitalistic reasons. Okay, for whatever reason, the media wants Trump to win, because again, if it was actually capitalistic, then they would want Trump to win, because if Trump gets another 4 years in the White House, that is a money train for the mainstream liberal media. Okay, so apparently, right, they really want Kamala Harris to win. Okay, and they are manipulating the mind in order to do so, right? They're colluding with the Kamala campaign. This is why Kamala felt comfortable enough to do this in the first place, because she knows she's not going to get any real criticism for it, right? They're not going to really care. And if she thought they would care, if she thought that it would actually hurt her, then she wouldn't do it. But again, doing stuff like this tells you how much the Kamala campaign feels the need to manipulate people's minds, right? To do anything but tell the truth. Again, there's a psychological operation going on here, guys. And I'm not exaggerating about that, right? The media quite literally is participating in a mass psyop of the American people to get them to vote for somebody who nobody really knows what she believes, right? She is ambiguous, okay? And that is what the media wants. That's what Kamala wants. They want to make the election about voting for something that you know in Trump versus something that you don't know. And they're hoping that most people will go with something that they don't know, right? As long as it's not Trump, okay? As long as it's not Trump. And that is the way that these people justify, again, unethical behavior. And what is happening right now, the psyop that is happening right now is that, well, we're doing it because we got to stop Trump, right? Therefore, anything should be allowed to stop him because he's evil, okay? And this is exactly how you get a real dictatorship, right? When you have this type of coordination between the media and the government in the name of, oh, well, we have to stop the enemy, right? This guy, we must take him down no matter what. Doesn't matter what we do, okay? Even if we take your rights and freedoms away, we have to stop this guy. Yeah, that is how a real tyrant rises, right? That is how somebody that, you know, the media claims Trump came to power. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.